What's up? In this video, what I want to do is go over how to find the missing measure of x using complementary angles. And I'm going to do that by going over a very common math problem. Okay, a very common mistake that a lot of students will start off with a problem like this is they'll say that C and D are equal to each other, right? Because it looks like C and D are equal to each other. But don't make that mistake or don't make that assumption. We can only work with stuff that we do know. So looking at this figure, what are some things that we do know? Well, we do know that we have a straight line. And we know that a straight line also has a name of a straight angle, which is equivalent to 180 degrees. We also know we have with this box. Now this box represents 90 degrees. So that's very important here because if from here to here is 90 degrees, and we know that a whole straight angle is going to make 80 degrees. Well, then what that's going to tell us is C plus D also adds to 90 degrees. Now, sometimes that's confusing because you say that's the box and that's an arc. But again, yes, they are actually going to be equal in value. So since the measure of C plus the measure of angle D is equal to 90 degrees, we call those angles complementary angles. We can also just go ahead and now write that expression. And I always like to just kind of write that down first. Therefore, if we ever make a mistake or wherever we want to go back and check our work, we can always go back and refer to the statement to make sure that we did that correctly. Now what we need to do is look at, well, what values or what expressions do we have that represent them? And you can see measure of angle C has the expression 9x minus 3, and measure of angle D is equivalent to 8x plus 8. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace these two values with these two expressions. Therefore, I'll now have a linear equation that I can go ahead and solve. All right, now you don't really need to use parentheses in this case, just because it's not really helping us with our grouping symbols or making sure we're preserving any negatives, but it is something that I do like to always recommend to my students just to make sure, to keep things safe and not to make mistakes. However, regardless of these parentheses, I can go and combine my 9x and my 8x, and I can go and combine my -3 and my 8. So 9x plus 8x is going to be a 17x, and -3 plus 8 is going to be a positive 5. All right, now I have a two-step equation, and I can go ahead and now just solve. So I have a 17x is going to equal a 85 degrees, and then divide by 17, and now you can say x is going to equal a 5. Now, that's just the measure of my value x. What if I actually wanted to find the measure of the angle C and D? So again, remember, measure of angle C is 9x minus 3. So if I actually want to find what that measure is, I'm going to say measure of angle C is equal to a 9 times 5 minus 3. So 9 times 5 is going to be a 45, minus 3 is equal to a 42. Measure of angle D is going to equal a 8x. I'm sorry, not 8x. We want to plug that in for a 5, right? So I can say 8 times 5 plus 8. Now 8 times 5 is going to be a 40, plus 8 is going to be equal to a 48. And again, you can also see that 42 plus 48 adds up to 90, again verifying that we did our work correctly and we're dealing with two complementary angles. So in the next video, I'll work on how to find the missing measure of an angle using complementary as well as supplementary angles. I'll see you in the next video.